Welcome back to the Writers Unblocked Artist Interview Series, guys. Thank you so much for coming back. Today, I have a very special guest. We have professional artist, model, producer, and now screenwriter, Madison Santos. Madison, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you want to just give the people a quick introduction to who you are, other than just those nameplates?
Oh, I always hate these questions, but yeah, born and raised in Los Angeles, California.
Okay,
I was a volleyball player and a professional dancer growing up. So I
nice.
actually had a dance group, a professional traditional Filipino folk dance group.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, so we would perform at Clipper games, Dodger games, Hollywood Bowl. It was very fun. I very much enjoyed it.
So what does that look like, that kind of dance?
So like the biggest ones that most people would know would probably be like Tnickling, which has the bamboo sticks and there's people clamping it, and then there's a couple that's like jumping in and out of it and
Mm.
doing all these twists and turns and all that stuff.
I'm gonna have to look that
Um,
up.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very cool dance.
Mhm.
We also have Muslim influenced dances,
Okay.
Spanish influenced dances, and then rural dances as well. So it just has like a mix of everything. It's very fun.
That's amazing. So, what started your exposure to the arts? Was it dance?
Dance, and then I also was like a sketch artist, so like I did a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
like mostly just like pencil and like
Mm.
charcoal and stuff like that.
So, you started out your whole career SDSU, correct?
Yes, I went
Yep.
to school at SDSU, and when I was there, I started modeling just to make some side money. I didn't
Mm.
think much of it. Like when I first got approached to model, I was just like, I'm
Yeah.
not a model. Like
So,
I don't
you
take good pictures.
really?
Not at first,
Yeah.
no.
And there is an art form to that, I will say. But you started off as a sociology major. What in God's name made you pick that as a major?
Um, that story's a little complicated. I actually changed my major 4 times
Okay.
because I just couldn't decide.
Yeah.
So I originally got into SDSU as a math major because I'm very good at math.
Okay.
Then I quickly changed to business management. I did
Hmm.
not like that. I changed to industrial engineering and
Oh
I
my
wanted to
God.
die. Um, and I took a semester off. I worked 3 jobs. I did a nonprofit organization. I learned how to do taxes, and then we would do them for
Wow.
them for free. So I had to like get certified and test and everything. And then
Wow.
I also worked at a real estate company that would only work with you if you had a net worth of like over $1 million. So I got
Wow.
to see such an extreme spectrum of people at both of my works, like the
Mhm.
poorest of the poorest and the richest of the richest. And
Yeah.
I just realized I really like people and studying
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
So I decided to try sociology and I loved it. And I think it actually helps me so much with my acting.
Oh, absolutely. Being able to understand the psyches of the characters that you're performing, especially for
Yeah,
some of your main roles. And let's get into that. So your most notable one, I would say, is Felines,
probably. Yeah.
right? So explain that character. What did it take for you to, first off, who is that character?
So, yeah, Max Garland, she is like a small town girl, very bored with her
Mm,
life. And, she does some things that are a little more edgy, but
mm,
she's not like an out, like doing these out in the open, like no one would really know.
yeah.
And she meets this girl, she falls in love.
Mm,
This girl gets her into a lot of like drinking and drugs, and
mm,
then eventually talks her into escorting. And
yeah.
so my character starts starts seeing one of the clients behind her back. She finds out and
Hmm.
she decides to murder him and frame me for it in Gibbstown. So that's
Naturally.
the gist of my character.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Um, now, what kind of work did you have to do to find that role?
Um, well, like everyone, I just submitted and then I
Mm,
auditioned for it. And then I talked to the director and
mm,
I ended up booking the role.
mm,
And then it was just a lot of working with the director on, his vision for certain things and
mm.
then bringing in my own interpretation. But I was very excited for this
Yeah.
role because when you first start out, at least for me, you're very pigeonholed into
Mm,
like a certain typecast. And
yeah.
mine was always just like, hot girl number five or like high school number two or
Yeah.
something. So to have some character with depth in it was a
Hmm.
very fun change of pace.
Yeah. Were those your roles prior to this for the most
Yes,
part? Which is
always.
which is unbelievable because I find and hopefully the times are changing where like now maybe 10 years ago just the term model is like okay, it's everything exterior and it can somewhat be reductive to somebody who four majors, sociology major, math, finance, real estate, taxes, all of that. And you bring so much more to the table than just hot girl number five. And, you know, getting the chance to actually flex your range of character work and just that added layer of depth must have been so refreshing to do.
It definitely was. I think I was kind of trying to move away from this industry because I felt like my looks were always such a big thing, especially growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s
Hmm.
and having that like cocaine model look,
Yeah, yeah.
felt like that was what people always would talk about and care about. And to me, I
Mm,
felt like I offered so much more. And so I really pushed away from my looks and tried to focus more on school and my brain and the things that I can do. And
mm,
um, that's why I was scared to get into like modeling and stuff because I didn't want people to be like, oh, where she just cares about her looks and like all this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I tried it, guys. Oh my gosh. It is so much work. It is
Mm,
very difficult. It is not an easy job. I
mm,
respect models so much
mm,
after doing it. And like, yeah, I had just the wrong
mm.
misinterpretation of models
Yeah.
growing up because it's hard. It's
Yeah,
very
so to
hard.
that point, maybe just break open that door because a lot of people are still under the facade that modeling is just kind of a deadpan look off to the side. Explain that or your steel blue.
Yeah,
What?
love that movie.
It's amazing.
Um, yeah, I guess I just didn't realize how much physical like it's just such a physical thing to do. And so you're
Mm,
in these very uncomfortable, like if you've ever danced or anything, like you're stuck in these very awkward positions for such a long amount of time until they are getting the shot.
mm,
And most of the time you're shooting in the wrong season so that when that season comes, they have the
true.
pictures ready. So
True.
you will be in a bikini in the water during winter, or you
Yeah.
will be in a bunch of clothes in the
Yeah.
summer just dying. So like
Yeah.
just the physical like climate and all of that
Hmm.
stuff, it's a lot to work with. And then when I first started, I realized I don't know what I'm doing with my face. I don't know
Yeah.
what to do like
Mm.
with my hands. And I really just look like a deer caught in the headlights. And I'm like, that's not that was not what I thought my face was
Yeah.
doing. And so yeah, once I started actually trying to pursue it a little bit more, I realized like this is not an easy thing. And then you're going to auditions all the time. And
Hmm.
you have to take care of yourself. So that means watching what you eat and working out and
Hmm.
taking care of your body and your skin and your
Hmm.
hair and all of that stuff. So always being like if you're assigned to an agency, you can't go up or down like more than 3 to 4 inches,
Wow.
in every place of your body.
And how
So,
regularly do they check?
I mean, they check for
Mm,
everything that you're casting for.
mm.
They'll ask for the production will ask for new
Oh, yeah.
measure.
Okay. All right. I see. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's getting updated all the time. And if you don't have the same measurements that you submitted with, or at
Right.
least in a certain amount of range,
Hmm.
then you could lose the job.
That's so daunting. It was like nothing, no, there's no better dietary incentive than knowing you're going to be on camera.
Job.
Yeah.
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 When
Um,
your money and your livelihood depends on it, you
yeah.
work a lot harder for it.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a big chunk of your story there going from everything finance and taxes. Like what I think so you did finance and marketing for a few years, and then COVID was the big thing that
Mhm.
really put an end to it. So what was that big change, and what was it was happening inside that made you decide, you know what, I'm doing it?
So yeah, I was doing marketing for a while, and then I was an executive assistant at a
Mm,
business management and accounting firm, actually for people in the entertainment industry. So I was
okay.
able to learn the business and the finance end of this industry before I ever got in it, which was
Hmm.
a huge component later on. But
Right.
I I knew I didn't want to continue in that career. I was very like just at a standstill. I didn't want to be an assistant forever, but I didn't want to move up. Like I didn't know what I was
Mm,
doing. And COVID happened. Obviously, the industry shut down. So I just didn't have a lot of work, which meant I wasn't getting any money.
yeah.
And, at first it was fun. I was like, okay, cool. Like I can start focusing on my own things. And I
Hmm.
get very sick.
Okay.
And I get this infection and it spreads to all my organs and they
Oh,
start
geez.
failing. And I'm in and out of the emergency room for like months. They're just like not diagnosing me correctly. And it was just a whole thing.
Hmm.
And I wasn't responding to my medication. I was in excruciating pain. Like
Wow.
I had really bad vertigo. So like I couldn't be on a phone. I couldn't watch TV. Like I literally had to just
That's
lay there
insane.
in silence, in pain. I couldn't move. Everything
Hmm.
hurt. So like I couldn't take a shower by myself, very humbling. I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I could barely feed myself. So that was just when you for months at a time are just sitting there doing nothing but
Hmm.
thinking,
Yeah.
uh it just makes you really think about like your life and what's important to you, and just like promising myself if and when I get healthy again, like I want
Yeah.
to live my life the way I want to. And I also after that I got into a very bad car accident, totaled my car.
Oh,
She ended up
God.
blowing up. So between paying for my medical bills, the lawyers, and for getting a new car, I lost all my savings. I couldn't afford my apartment anymore. So like
Oh, my
I
God.
lost everything that I spent like 4 or 5 years working towards. And I felt like I did everything, the right way. Like you grow up Asian and it's like you do it the stable way, you do it like
Hmm. Hmm.
this is these steps and this is the
Yep.
only way that you can succeed and be
Hmm.
happy. And I did it and I wasn't happy and I lost it all anyways.
Yeah.
So I was just like over it at that point. I was like,
Yeah.
then might as well take the risk, because if
Yeah.
it's going to be a risk either way, I'd rather put 100% into myself and into
Mm,
my dreams. And then if it doesn't work out and I know it's not meant for me, at least I tried and at
yeah.
least I know. And
Hmm.
then I can go on to something else, knowing, like never regretting that I didn't even try.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I ended up doing really well and I'm still doing it 3.5 years later.
Yeah. And
So,
honestly, I've never heard of a model say that they didn't want to go into modeling because they were afraid that they would become too successful. And and you've always had that in your back pocket no matter what. There was always like a cushion because like you could have you always knew that you could have done very well in that. And despite that, you decided to go with all of these things that were more than just looks, but as you're finding out now, modeling is way more than
more
just
than
that.
just that,
Yeah.
but still.
So much more, and doesn't get the credit enough for it. But do you think if you didn't have the pressure and the scrutiny, like you said, like coming from an Asian family, do you think you would have been on the same path or made the same decisions?
Um, I don't know. It's hard to know for
Mm,
sure. I think I might have done it a little bit sooner, because if I would have had that support
mm-hmm,
outright, like
mm-hmm,
it has been such a fight with me and my family the past
mm-hmm.
3 years. And even though I'm doing well, it's still like, because they don't understand the industry, they're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but when are you gonna be done with this? Like, you're still
Mm-hmm,
not famous yet. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't just come overnight,
mm-hmm.
guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I'm getting
Yeah.
there.
Asian families are
So
so results driven.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
they're not on
And
board until they
so
see it for themselves. It's
exactly.
tough.
And so, unfortunately, with this work, it's a lot of unmonetized work beforehand.
Hmm.
And so they're just like, what, when you could be working and getting money, why would you be
Hmm.
doing all this work for free? But I've
Hmm.
seen it pay off, and planting those seeds, they have bloomed. And I am now getting all of these opportunities that I've been working really hard to
Yeah.
foster. So
Yeah.
it's just a part of it. But I mean, I was growing up in LA, I think I was very averse to the entertainment industry. You know, you
Yeah.
hear all the stories and you see all these people,
Mm.
and I like my privacy. I think
Yeah.
that's another reason why even I could have been bigger sooner, but I've been kind of
Mm.
trying to hold on to like my privacy and being
Mm.
able to have this time by myself with people not knowing me.
Yeah.
Um, so like that's been a hard thing for me to
Mm.
accept that
Yeah.
that's part of my job. And I know everyone always tells me they're like, that's so weird. Like everyone
Mm.
else, like
Mm.
all the actors they've ever met, like they want to be famous. That's like a
Yep.
main reason for
Yeah.
them getting into the industry is
Yeah.
like because they want the fame, they want the attention, they want all that stuff.
Mm.
I just want to make art, and I
Mm.
want to
Yeah.
make art that, gets to the whole world and can change people's lives and help people.
Mm.
So I think my motivations are just a little different. And
Yeah.
once I got to that point, it was easier for me to accept success more.
Yeah, and that's the exact word because a lot of people will chase the fame and they kind of conflate fame with success. But success
Yeah.
isn't always just being known for what you do. It's the success for me and for someone like you is be getting a chance to do what you love day in and day out and have it be a full-time job. The fame can come second to that. But
Yeah.
being known for what I'm doing, not so much than actually just being able to do what I'm doing. And, yes, actors will love to just tell you their life story to anybody who will listen. But there are just some private gems that you just prefer to have because there are plenty of actors who will say nowadays that they would kill for a chance to have a private life again. Because
Hmm.
that's a bottle you can never, cap. Once it's out there,
Exactly.
it's never going back.
Once you're
So,
known, you can never be unknown. And
yeah.
that's something that's been really hard for me to grasp with because
Mhm.
it's like, what if I want to go back and I can't? Like you
Yeah.
can't. You people know who you are now. So
Yeah.
that's a hard thing to get over, but I realize that there's a gift in what I'm doing. And if I can
Mhm.
help people through my gift of
Mhm.
storytelling,
Yeah.
then I think it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so your storytelling has not only gone through acting and modeling, but also producing too. So just for people's peace of mind, in your best definition, what does a producer or what can a producer do? Because it's such a
Um,
broad term.
yeah, I know. Everyone always asks me that. They're like, does that just mean you throw money at a project? So there are different types of producers. An
Hmm.
executive producer are the
Yeah.
ones that are putting in the funding.
Hmm.
I am not that rich yet. I will eventually executive produce some stuff, but not yet. I started out as a line producer, which is basically handling like the locations and the casting and all of the
Yeah.
like minute day-to-day things and
Hmm.
making sure that everything is set, everything stays on budget and on
Hmm.
time, working with the clients and the director and making sure that it all flows,
Yeah.
the logistic part flows.
Right.
Now I have transitioned to more of like an actual producer and a supervising producer. So I am kind of the one overseeing everyone, all the heads of the departments and the producers, and making sure that everything is the way it needs to be. And then I am the one that's in all of the meetings
Hmm.
with investors, with whoever else we need to
Hmm.
talk to get funding, to get
Okay.
everything together so that we can move forward, so we can hire these people and
Mm-hmm.
they can do their jobs. So
Now,
that's basically that.
is that the same with music videos?
Um, yeah, I think most of the time, like it just depends on how big it is.
Hmm.
Most of the time, the producers end up doing a lot of line producing as well, just
Sure.
because,
Yeah.
there's just only so many people that you can bring on. So I was
Mm,
doing a lot of both.
mm,
Music videos are also a little different because either the record label or the artist is usually the one putting in the money. So you're
mm.
not having to go to financiers and investors and be asking for money. So
Yeah,
it's also a little bit different on that end.
gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's basically the same, just like a little bit smaller
Yeah, I bet.
scale.
Did I see that you produced a Tory Lanez video?
No,
Or
no, I
okay.
did not produce it.
Oh, okay.
That was like one of the first like productions that I was ever on, like big
Oh,
productions.
oh yeah, 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 that's right.
Yeah.
What
So
was
I was
that
just a
like?
model
Yeah.
that was just, looking pretty in the background.
Yeah.
But it was a very fun project. I
Mm,
started with Tory Lanez and then
mm.
I did MGK, Bozzy, Marshmello, Jonas Brothers,
Yeah, that's
probably
amazing.
more. Yeah. And then I worked my way up from there.
Now, I saw one of the films that you did was Downfalls High. Did you ever get to work with Sydney Sweeney?
Yeah, so she was there. I mean, I didn't have that much contact with her specifically.
Yeah.
Um, Little Huddy, I had a lot of contact with.
Okay.
I did get to see Megan Fox, but I didn't get to talk to her. I love her. And then I did get closer to like Maud's son, who was
Mm.
directing it. And I didn't get to meet Avril Lavigne, but
Ah,
she was starting to talk to him at the time, so he would always tell me all these stories. I'm just
oh,
like,
that's funny. And for
I want to.
any 90s kid, that would be a dream.
It's like my childhood. Are you
Hmm.
kidding me?
Yep. Yep. Oh God, Avril
So,
Lavigne.
yeah, it was a very fun shoot. MGK is a very nice person. I really enjoyed working with him. He's
Mm.
very, very sweet. Everyone on that shoot was very kind and very,
Yeah.
very sweet. And being able to watch Travis Barker in person, just
Yeah.
like jamming out, I was like, I
Like,
can't believe I'm the one getting paid to be here.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's the funny thing when you talk when even certain people who have like full-time jobs in a different industry and they keep coming back to something like this and you're like, why? It's like, because this is honestly the easiest money I will ever make. It's like you're telling me I get paid to be indulged by all of my idols for 6 hours today and get paid
Yeah.
for it? Like, yeah, hands down, I will do that every single day.
Like, why would
It,
I not want that to be my life?
yeah, it's
Um,
unbelievable.
Yeah, I did this one commercial. It was for SLS hotel in Beverly Hills,
Mm,
and they had this package. So it had like, like massages and like, champagne by the pool and
yeah.
all this stuff, like getting to get designer clothes and whatever.
Mm,
So the whole time they're just having us doing these patches things. So I'm
yeah.
just like having to drink real champagne next to the beautiful pool and getting
Yeah.
massaged and like trying on tens of thousands of dollars worth of clothes. And I'm just like, oh, my life is so difficult.
Yeah, I don't get cast for those, not surprisingly. So now you've recently, well, not recently, I think it was last year, started your own production company.
I'm starting it this year. I was
Okay.
gonna start it last year, and then it was just very difficult,
Mhm.
especially because I was living in the Philippines all of last year.
Oh, wow.
So it was just really hard for me to get my business done here. But now that I'm
Gotcha.
back, that's actually the meeting that I just got off of was with the
Mhm.
lawyer and getting everything set up so I can move forward with getting all that put together.
So where in the process are you now?
I'm in the process of filing for my LLC, getting my
Okay.
EIN number
Mhm.
together so I can get my business account up and running. And I have a lot of projects that I am producing right
Mhm.
now. So we are in the works of getting funding. So we want to be able to have a business account that we can put the funds into.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm currently working on at the moment.
Where do you see it in 5 years?
I mean, I definitely see me having a huge production company.
Mm.
Hopefully, eventually, I don't know about in 5 years, but in the next like 10 years or so, having like my own network.
Mm.
And basically just creating my own content, but I do want to be living abroad, so I will not be in the States,
Okay.
and I will just come back for projects when I need to. But yeah, like I want to be able to write and produce my own projects and work on it abroad and then bring it back to the
Okay.
States and then do
Mm.
everything here once it's ready.
Abroad as in Philippines?
I don't know yet. I want to just travel the world and see where I like so far.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the next trek will be Central and South America. And then after that will be like Europe. And then we'll
Okay.
see where I go from there.
Where have you been so far?
So far, I have been, well, I mean, Mexico, Canada.
Mm.
2022, I went to Colombia, Medellin, and it was
Okay.
the most amazing experience. That's actually where
Colombia.
I got, yeah,
Oh, really?
um, that's where I got the idea for this feature film with the beat
Mm.
sheet behind me.
Mm.
And then yeah, I moved to the Philippines in Manila, and then I went to Thailand for like two
Mm.
months. I went to
Mm.
Bali for a month. I went to Japan for like a week.
Mm.
Island hopped a little bit around the Philippines. I've been to Spain, and that's it for now.
It's
But
funny.
yeah, I'm going back to the Philippines actually next month
Wow.
for my cousin's wedding. And then me and my cousins are going to Bali. And then New Year's, I will be in Guatemala. So
Oh
hopefully
my
next
God.
year I can start my South America backpacking tour.
That is so cool. I've always wanted to go to Manila because one of my, I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know that one of my favorite K-pop stars is from Manila, but that's about it. But the Philippines has always been so fascinating to me. And maybe it's just me, but I don't hear as much about it as I do like mainland Asia. Um,
No,
but
I mean, growing up, it was like, especially in the like early 2000s, everyone's
mhm.
just like, wait, what is the Philippines? What's
Yeah.
Filipino? Like, they know Chinese,
Mhm.
Japanese, maybe Thai, and then they
Mhm.
kind of just would clump. I mean, it's the same
Mhm.
with like other ethnicities. It was like everyone's just Mexican, or whatever. Like, they
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
distinguish the fact
Uh-huh.
that like Spanish or they're Guatemalan or they're
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was the same thing with the Philippines. I do feel like we're starting to get more mainstream. Like people are eating Jollibee. Like white people are just eating Jollibee. I'm like, what is happening right now? Everyone's obsessed with ube right now. I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
this is so weird, guys.
It is. It's so trendy now to do minority things, which is awesome. I mean, it's about
So it's
time, but
great,
you know.
but it's
Um,
just a really trippy transition to see.
yeah. Now I've done my share. I did a bunch of music tours when I was still performing throughout like Europe and Australia. What is it about for you being abroad overseas, all different countries that gives you a kind of a never-ending well of inspiration and creativity?
I mean, for one, I think just movement in general,
Mm,
an object in motion stays in
mm,
motion. So being able to just constantly be moving and experiencing new things,
mm,
it activates new parts of your brain and inspires new ideas that you've never thought about.
mm,
And then, I think I grew up in LA. LA is my home.
mm.
So with that, there's also a lot of triggers, from past traumas and childhood things that I'm still
Okay.
dealing with. And
Mm,
so being in an environment where you're just always being triggered and you're always in a survival mode and you don't
yeah.
really get a chance to get out of it, it
Mm,
really hinders your creativity.
mm,
So when I was writing this feature, that's why I decided to move to the Philippines and just be able to focus on this. I did some
mm.
modeling when I was out there. That was very fun.
Yeah.
Um, and and I'm tall out there, so that was
Yeah.
even better.
I bet you are.
It was so weird, like
Yeah.
going to the modeling castings. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
guys, I'm tall. Like that's so weird.
Now, do you think that somebody who hasn't experienced as much, whether it be traveling abroad or they don't have as many chips on their shoulders, do you think that someone like that can be just as creative?
I mean, I think with anything, you're always just drawing from your own experiences,
Mhm.
and you obviously have had your own experiences.
Mhm.
So if you can get to a place of being able to turn those experiences, that pain, that whatever, into
Mhm.
art, like
Yeah.
that's what artists do.
Mhm.
You don't have to necessarily travel across the world to be able to, but
Mhm.
it's just a totally different experience. And I think when you're starting out as an artist, it's
Mhm.
fine to kind of be in your own space and just figuring out that. But once you're trying to like level up your artistry and your craft and
Mhm.
see what else you can do, that's when I think it's a good idea to start venturing out and seeing what else can bring out
Mhm.
more from you than
Yeah.
just being in one place.
Yeah, and I've taught a few classes where I've had to deal with introverts or narcissists, and we're getting to that scene where they have to learn how to cry, and we're diving into a character, and like, okay, not only do you have to draw on a memory that is so emotional that you have to cry about it, but eventually you need to become that character and cry for whoever's dying in the scene. And it's really hard to do that if one, you haven't been paying attention enough to your own life to be able to be that present for when to draw on that emotion. Or two, if you haven't even had an event like that where you can't even sympathize or empathize with what your character is experiencing. And I was like, go find some sad shit. Like
Yeah,
go find
I was gonna
go
say like I have more than enough trauma. I don't know if it's an Asian thing, but I have more than enough trauma to draw from. But
Mhm.
if you haven't, then yeah, just go
Yeah.
go find some trauma.
Go find some trauma. That's going to be the headline. That's going to be the title of this interview. I
That's
can't
what I'm here for.
I swear to God, go find some trauma. And I love that because I don't know about you because you're also a writer as well. But even as an actor, like I prefer dramatic roles.
Oh, me
Um
too.
like I love the comedy, but dramatic roles they provide so much more depth. One of the reasons why somebody like Steve Carell could go from Michael Scott to, his character in Beautiful Boy as a father of a drug addicted son. And it's just so much more of a challenge. And I'm sure you felt that as well. Now, you've started script writing, of course. Now, what is your process for finding those characters?
Um, this is the first script that I'm really like my idea. Like I've
Hmm.
helped on scripts and stuff like that, but this is
Hmm.
like the first time it's like my idea, my everything. And it is based off of my life.
Hmm.
So that makes it a lot easier with the
Hmm.
characters because they are real people that I'm drawing from and real situations. And I think that helps with this. I think
Hmm.
even when you're acting and it's not your story, having a character that is very similar to you, where you're basically just acting like yourself, I feel like
Hmm.
that's always the best way to start.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of build up your craft from
Yeah.
there because you know how to be you.
Yeah.
Like you know
Yeah.
your own life story, you know yourself, you can just
Yep.
act like yourself. Like that's the easiest way to start. And then
Hmm.
you kind of build on, you're like, okay, now I want to do something more. And then you do
Yeah.
it more challenging and
Hmm.
like a different character and like you kind of build it.
Yeah, and you know it's going to be dramatic because it was dramatic for you and in your experiences, and at the same time you don't have to draw on as much fresh creativity because you already have it there. Have you
Yeah.
found any, without going too far into it, have you found or come to any realizations while writing it and finding those characters? Like the first thing I think of is a character's needs and wants and their motivation in a scene. And have you thought about things in the past and been like, oh my God, this is what they wanted, this is what they needed, and then just your mind is blown.
It has been such a healing experience for me. I
Mhm.
think because I have gone through so much trauma, you suppress a lot of it.
Mhm.
And so forcing myself to actually think about these things again and go through these emotions and figure
Mhm.
out where I was at and where other people were at. Now I'm older, so I can also see where they're coming from a different perspective.
Mhm.
It just helped me kind of like bring my life together. I think or I know when you have trauma, your body gets trapped in that one like age that you had your trauma. So like
Yeah.
I felt stuck in a 5-year-old's body, a 16-year-old's body, a 20-year-old's body, all these major dates that were like very traumatic events for me. And it
Mhm.
made it hard to be in the present moment. because
Yeah.
I was still stuck in those years. So being able to go through everything and process it in a healthy way, and
Hmm.
also in a way that is bringing art and it's exciting
Hmm.
for my future, I think it was just like such a therapeutic way
Yeah.
to deal with everything and get back to this present moment and
Hmm.
being 28 years old, because I don't feel 28 years old. Um, Almost 29 in like a month and a half. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I stopped counting a long time ago. So
Hard, growing older is hard.
it is, yeah, yeah. God, like even just like 90s kid is becoming like it used to be a badge of honor, and now I'm like, oh my, like hearing kids born like past 2010 now. I'm like,
I know.
why
And
is that
they're
a thing?
now.
I was like,
And they now call the 90s 1900s, which like,
do they
what am
really?
I? Yes, they
I need to have
do.
a
I'm not
talk with
100.
somebody. That's
I'm not
not
100 years
cool.
old, guys. Like, this is like
1900.
20 years ago, bro. Chill.
I was like, I sound like I just invented like a light bulb. 1900s kids.
Literally.
That's terrifying.
Exactly.
That is awful. Anyway, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Um, Now, did you always knew that this was the first story that you wanted to write?
No, no, I don't know how candid I can be on this
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah.
but
This is
I was
completely unfiltered.
okay. Yeah, I was on a bunch of drugs in Colombia, and
Leave it to
because
Columbia.
you can't, like, I personally feel like it should be illegal to go to Medellin and not like what. But anyway, so I was on a bunch of drugs and it just came to me like it
Mm,
was literally like a vision.
mm,
I saw these scenes playing out as if like I'm watching it in a movie, like it's
yeah,
already happened.
yeah.
And I had never felt that before. When I talk to writers who are very successful,
Mm,
they say the same thing about their work. Like they've
mm,
already seen it, they already know it exists. They're just
mm.
making it now
Yeah,
exist. And so that was like the first time I was like, whoa, I
yeah,
should do this.
yeah.
And I had ideas like, certain parts of my life where I was like,
Mm,
this would be an interesting story, but nothing
mm,
that really I felt like was feature film worthy. And
mm.
then the path that I was on now, I was like, for whatever reason, I know that I'm supposed to document this because this is going to be huge,
Yeah,
not only for me, but for this movie.
yeah,
So yeah.
definitely. So Colombian influence aside, like for somebody with the same chips on their shoulders, somebody with the same trauma, how do you know you're ready to tell that story, to write it down, to start the therapeutic process?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just an inward thing. Like it's just something that you
Mm,
feel, and the older you get,
mm,
when something like 30 is fast approaching, it just
yeah.
has you thinking a lot. And
Mm,
being sick for a long time, like all that stuff, it really
mm,
just kind of got me to this place of like I'm ready to like deal with my stuff. I'm
mm,
ready to not let it affect me. Like I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to be holding on to so much stuff that's
mm,
was 10 years ago now. It doesn't feel
mm,
like it was 10 years ago because I'm still holding on to it so hard, but
mm,
it was like a decade ago. Why am I still letting it affect me this much? Like that's not how
mm.
I want to live my life. So it was just
Yeah.
like a eventually a conscious decision that like
Mm.
if I don't want to keep going down this road, I'm gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's a really good duality of image for somebody, for people who have always dreamed of doing what you're doing. On the outside, you're so free, but a few years ago, you could feel anything but free.
yeah.
And a lot of people think that, people who are actors, who are models, who are producers, who have made the jump are as free as they possibly can be. But no, there are restrictions. I mean, there's a reason why they say a lot of stand-up comedians are just like tortured souls because they're performing for an audience, and it's just like this is all I am doing. Like it's just I am performing for people, and there's nothing internal. There's no mental work that I'm doing for myself, and it's a really tough thing. And you know now you're doing exactly what, you know, will completely free you from all of that.
Yeah,
So,
it was a hard process. It's still a hard
mhm.
process. Like I try to tell people every day because I know I come off very positive and happy, and I am, but like
Yeah, I was gonna
it
say, I think you
doesn't
are.
It doesn't change the fact that like internally I am so scared and I'm so terrified every day. And I don't let
Mm,
it show because I think it's like a fake it till you make it. Like if
mm,
I don't believe in myself, if I don't have that confidence, no one else is going to. So you just
mm,
have to like pretend
yeah.
almost until
Mm,
you get there. But I mean, mental health was a huge thing for me. I was very depressed, very
mm,
suicidal for a lot of my life and
mm,
angry and just I couldn't control my own mind. I couldn't regulate my emotions
mm,
and I just felt very lost and not
mm,
being able to control your own mind. It's just such a scary thing. So
yeah.
I'm glad that I took this journey, but it was very lonely and it was sad. And now you have to deal with your emotions, which is not
Yeah.
fun. Like,
Yeah.
and obviously I wanted to do it sober. So like this was for the first time in a long time, just being sober and dealing with this stuff and letting my emotions, because again,
Mm,
also being in an Asian background, we're taught to like suppress our emotions,
yeah.
don't talk about it, don't feel it,
Mm,
don't let it affect your work.
mm-hmm.
So, it was really hard for me at first to like give myself that permission to just feel and accept that I'm not okay and like
Mm-hmm.
let me go through that first so that I
Mm,
can actually heal from it. So it was not an easy
mm,
process. I don't want
yeah.
people to think, yeah, you just wake up one day and you're like, I want to be better. And then you're just better. And then you're
Yeah.
just happy.
Yeah.
You're living your dream. That was not how it worked. It was a lot of hard work and it was very difficult.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I put in that work because
Yeah.
now I feel a lot lighter and
Mm,
freer and happier.
mm.
So,
That is one thing that's tough about being a 90s kid. Well, at least we were like the last generation of people who didn't have mental health focused on all too much. And now it is so with Asian families now, are you seeing a shift in parenting where there is a little bit because mental health is so overtly focused on now? Like, are you
yeah.
seeing a shift in the Asian community? Because like that's the community that really needs it.
Yeah, no,
So,
definitely. I mean, I do feel like for the most part, like
mm,
seeing like my cousins and stuff,
mm,
they are like so on mental health and like
mm,
wanting to break generational curses and, working on themselves so that they don't pass down these traumas to their children. And I
mm,
love being able to see that shift.
yeah.
But, the older generation, like it's very hard for them to make that transition, which I understand. So,
Mm,
like, I don't think that they're going to change, but I do see
yeah.
the younger generations in the Asian community really talking about things that used to be very taboo,
Hmm.
like mental health,
Hmm.
sex, just all these
Yeah.
things that are part of life, but you were never like allowed to
Yeah.
talk about or have feelings about. So
Hmm.
I love it. I'm
Yeah.
very happy for going down this road.
Right. And to your point about being scared on the inside, I think everybody is scared because if they weren't, they wouldn't care about their careers. Like even the biggest of narcissists, like the Tony Starks out there, they're mortified of what people think, so they create this persona. And I read
Yeah.
this interesting quote from a Buddhist nun talking about her ex-husband who said that she was the most admirable person that he had ever met. And she asked him why. And he said, because you're a complete coward, but you do things anyway. And I've lived by that mantra for so long. It's like my stage fright, my camera shyness is never going to go away, but I'm going to do it anyway because nobody's going to fight harder for my career than me.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, there's just something that you have to like let go of, even if it's still there. Like you
mhm.
don't just automatically not have stage fright
Yeah.
anymore, but forcing yourself to go through those fears and just do it, you
Yeah.
realize
Yeah.
you don't die.
Yeah.
Like you're fine. It's
Yeah.
hard, but it's fine. And then if
Yeah.
you do this stuff, maybe it's what's meant for you. And you would
Yeah.
have never known
Mhm.
if you didn't even try.
Yeah.
So
Like I've gone through my rounds of no's in the past before. I'm desensitized to it at this point. And I that also helps. It's just having the experience of just being told no a million times. And it's like, "Oh, all right, fuck it. Whatever. It's another one."
yep,
Um,
yep.
now in creating your stories, what elements are important to you? Like I think character arcs, needs or wants, setting, plot. period, things like that. Anything, I guess it doesn't even have to be in just writing, like in just any of your work around a story. What kinds of elements are important to you?
I think like a lot of people probably.
Hmm.
One of my biggest inspirations, especially for this movie, is Christopher Nolan. And so I
Yeah.
really love like, psychological thrillers, things
He
that
is
keep you
so
on
cerebral.
mysteries,
Yeah.
things that also like speak to things that are deeper, have these like
Hmm.
deeper kind of like hard conversations because we haven't even grasped it ourselves,
Hmm.
things like other dimensions
Yeah.
and
Christopher
all of these
Nolan's great for
space.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I really love movies like that, any sort of stories like that. So I really I'm trying to put that into a lot of
Hmm.
the things that I'm talking about. Also, mental health and like the story arcs, the character arcs,
Hmm.
like you were saying, just getting to see. I want my characters to be very raw and real,
Hmm.
like I don't want my characters to be waking up with a full face of makeup and like everything just perfectly
Yeah.
aligns and everything's just there. Like,
Hmm.
I want it to feel real. Like you're seeing them doing all parts of their life, even going
Yeah.
to the bathroom or whatever. Like
Yeah.
those real parts of it, I think brings the character out more. And then
Hmm.
when you see them transition into their new found
Hmm.
whatever, you can see it through all of these small little
Yeah.
things.
And that's an art of cinematic minimalism that I think doesn't get appreciated enough. Like one of my favorite films is Good Will Hunting, and it was
Yes.
so cheaply shot, but the story is just it's not the overstimulus of let me throw a bunch of fireworks and explosions in front of you and overstimulate the audience. It's like I'm going to whisper and you're going to lean in and listen to my story because it's so captivating. And I
Yeah.
love that work. Do you have an example of a film that like you wish you could have written that is exactly what you're looking for?
Yeah, like obviously Interstellar and
Hmm.
Inception are big
Hmm.
inspirations. Lucy and
Yeah.
Limitless, those are
Hmm.
also really huge inspirations
Hmm.
in this movie. Like I wish I would have written Limitless. Like it's
Yeah.
such a cool idea being and the same with Lucy, just being able to access 100% of your brain. What could we do? What could we control?
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
then these 3D physics, whatever stuff, they don't matter because it's
Hmm.
not real. Like these atoms are all a part of
Hmm.
us. We've just constructed them to be different things, but you can
Hmm.
actually change all of this
Hmm.
stuff in your head if we could access that part of it. So getting to think about that stuff is so trippy. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And with the character like Limitless, do you sympathize with that character's needs and wants as well? Thinking that this pill is going to solve his problems when it's everything he shouldn't be doing. Um,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I mean, I feel like most stories and most characters, if you like them, it's because they resemble a part of you, maybe not
Hmm.
all of you, but a
Hmm.
part of you. So, I've definitely been in his shoes and looked for external things to kind of help me solve my problems.
Hmm.
And then being stuck in this like web almost that you created for yourself and having to like dig yourself out of it and
Hmm.
figure out how to live after like
Yeah.
putting yourself
Mm.
so far in like this bad situation. So
Yeah.
I very much sympathize with his character.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are some great movie examples. Um, I have to ask, there's a video on your YouTube channel called Recreating the Lo-Fi Girl for Under $100.
Honestly, I used to live in a content house in
Uh,
Vegas in 2021, and we were just all working and we had the lo-fi
yeah.
thing up on the screen just listening to music, and one of my roommates was just and my ex,
Mm.
he was like, you kind of look like the lo-fi girl. And I was just like, I guess I could see it. And he was like, you should recreate it. And I was just like, okay. And I didn't really think much of it. And then, we were kind of like not working on anything at the time. So I was just
Hmm.
like, why not try? Again, I had no
Yeah.
money. So everything was thrifted or really cheap off of Amazon and just stuff that we could find around the house.
Yeah.
Um, So I didn't spend more than $100 to recreate everything.
Wow.
I don't think I have it on my Instagram anymore, but I did have like a thing that showed like fast, like me doing everything and setting everything up, and
Mm.
the before and after with like the editing and stuff, because
Yeah.
even the pictures we took, and we did the action and everything, and then we realized it never recorded, but we had already
Yeah.
taken everything down for that set, so it was just
Yeah.
like not worth it. We were just like, fine, we'll just use the picture and then put some music over it, which I was very upset about.
That's so funny because I was like, listen, I was like, all right, I've never heard of this before, but this is a vibe, man. Like this is a vibe. And I was like, I could do all my work to this.
Right?
I
It's
was,
such a common music. So it's just
uh-huh.
like, let's just recreate the picture. And it turned out way better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Everyone chipped in and everyone did work on it, and they
Mhm.
killed it, and it
Mm.
looked amazing afterwards. I was so surprised.
Yeah, definitely. All right, last two questions that we always ask everybody here on this brand. One, what do you do? What kinds of things do you do to unblock that creativity block? Like just anything that you if you're just sitting down and there's not a damn thing that'll come out. What kinds of things do you do to get over that?
I mean, I think it's a process thing. Like you kind of just do a bunch of stuff until it actually works. Every time
Mm,
it's different.
mm,
Sometimes I can just walk away from it for like
yeah.
a day or two or a couple hours, and then I'm able to clear my mind, whatever.
Mm.
Sometimes it's drugs. I'll just take like a microdose of shrooms or something, and then it
I
will kind of
mean,
like let my
yeah.
brain open a little bit, because
Mm,
sometimes I'm just so trapped in other external things that I can't really dig inward.
mm.
Lately, I've been doing a lot of meditation and Reiki, which has been
Okay.
helping just
Okay.
to clear my mind and go
Mm,
more inward and be in the present
mm,
moment and try to access different parts of my mind.
mm.
But again, like those don't always work. So you kind of just have to like
Yeah.
try. I'm trying to get better about adding people to my process. I'm a
Yeah.
very like to myself, like I want to do everything myself. And so like
Mm,
learning to lean on my team and the people around me and getting their input, and then just having that back and forth where they can pitch ideas and then I can pitch ideas and we can build on that. Like
mm.
sometimes that helps also. Like you just need another head and like someone else to talk and bounce things off of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, those are mostly what I do, but sometimes like even for this, like I've had to walk away for like a month or so or
Mhm.
more just to like get myself in a space, especially for this one because it's so personal. Like sometimes there were things I started writing about that I was just like, I'm not ready to write about this yet. So I had
Yeah.
to wait and let myself process things my own before I was ready to actually dig down deep and put it
Mm.
onto the pages. So, you always have to just find your own process and how that will work.
When you step away from it, do you find that thinking about it helps or hurts?
Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely hurts. You need to think about anything else but that. Like be in the present moment
Yeah.
and focus on what it is you're doing,
Mm,
whether it's just like dinner with your family or
mm.
going to like play pickleball or whatever it is. Like being fully in that
Yeah.
moment and letting
Yeah.
yourself just live life again.
Hmm.
And then as that's happening, something just will click in your brain, and because you're letting it just flow, and
Hmm.
and it usually helps me. Like
Yeah.
majority of the time it helps me.
There's a lot of faith that goes into our kind of creative process. It's just trusting
Mhm.
that our experiences will create something more for us.
Yeah, this whole feature film was based off of faith because my story actually starts in Colombia, and then it was following my whole journey in the
Mhm.
Philippines and after and all that stuff. So I was writing it as I was living it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I have to live life to be able to make the
Mm,
content that's going to go into this.
mhm,
And I had to just trust that it was going to work itself out the way it was supposed to make a good movie. And
mm.
I'm not even kidding you, my whole life, like when you really break it down like
Yeah.
this, like the setup and the fun and games and the bad guys closing in, the dark night of the soul, gathering a team, all that stuff. Like my life during that point literally hit every single thing exactly in order the way it was supposed to. It was insane. I don't know if this is like a manifest, like you ask for and it just happens type of thing, but it was like, I was so astounded by the fact that it really just did it itself.
Did you ever doubt for a second or a week or a month that you were going to be able to complete the story?
I
Just
think
because
there's
of the
always,
content in it.
yeah, I think there's always just in this line of work, because everything is so unstable, like nothing is set in stone. Even if you do get funding, even if you do end up making it and getting distribution, it's out in the world, it could still tank. Like you just don't know what's going to happen. So, and then I've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations with this one, having to go through different writers and people coming and leaving and all this stuff. And I was originally writing it with my ex, who was also going to be directing it. And when we broke up and he wasn't a part of the project, I was just like, I can't do this myself. Like, what am I, and I had to really like dig down deep and be like, I can do this. Like, I keep trying to like pigeonhole myself to someone to make me feel a little more safe. Like, it's not just on me, but I had to start believing in myself that like, no matter what, I can do it. And I just started small little steps, and here I am.
Oh, that's amazing. Madison Santos, you are an inspiration to artists and non-artists alike, people with traumas, because in this world, who doesn't have traumas? But you are a prime example as someone who can push through them, who can heal in the correct manner to overcome them and to be as successful as you are now. And I imagine 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to be saying your name up in spotted lights somewhere, maybe a Christopher Nolan film. Who knows? You could be
I'm working on it.
I bet you are. We'll have all the links for where people can find you in the description below, but to hear from you, where can people find you?
I guess Instagram mostly, Madison Santos official. You can go onto my IMDb page, Madison Santos. That's where you'll find all my credits and any movies. I have 2 other movies that are coming out this year finally. And one is premiering actually like in a month or so. So that's cool. And then producing a TV show, a feature film, possibly a mini series, and then I have this feature film as well. So there's a lot of stuff coming. So be on the lookout.
I just realized I've been saying Santos this entire time.
Whatever.
No, it's not okay. I've took 9 years of Spanish. I shouldn't be still doing that. But Madison, it's been so great having you here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your horrendously busy schedule. I couldn't be happier that you're here.
No, I can't again begin to express how much it means to me for you to have me on here. And I had such a fun time. I love doing this. So hopefully we'll be talking again soon.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much again.
Of course. Bye.